Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial, we're making data stores in Roblox. This is basically a part 2 to the leaderstats tutorial because data stores actually save the values that are in the leaderstats. Make sure you have Explorer and Properties open. Let's start. So now I'm going to open my leaderstats script I made in my last video. If you don't know how leaderstats work, go watch my previous video first, because otherwise it'll be harder to understand this tutorial. Now let's put this player added function aside. First, we need to make variables. I named this variable DTS, which stands for DataStoreService. We assign the variable to the service by getting the game and getting the service called DataStoreService, which handles data stores. Now, I talked about services previously. Some services are visible in the Explorer, like Workspace, Replicated Storage, etc. But some aren't. Some of them, like Teleport Service or DataStoreService, can only be accessed through scripts. I created another variable called coins, which is the data store for the coins value in the leader stats. We do that by getting the DataStore service, and then using the function GetDataStore, we actually kind of create the data store for the coins value. If you have more values, you need to create more data stores that are assigned to that specific value. Since I have 2 other values, I'll make 2 more data stores. Data stores are basically a place where data gets stored when the player leaves. Now we will create another function which handles saving the data when the player leaves the game. I wrote the same function as before, but this time, instead of player added, I wrote player removing, which is an event that gets called when the player is leaving the game. And yes, don't worry, the scripts are faster and will save in time. We connected that event to a function and created the variable player, which is the player that is currently leaving the game. Now, make a variable that is assigned to the leader stats, and then other values which you have to assign to all values you currently have. The reason we are doing this is because if a variable is defined in a function, you cannot use that variable outside of the function. You have to use it in that function. Now I'll quickly rename the variables we defined at the start because I didn't name them the best way. If I keep these names, you guys will probably get confused. This is a bit confusing, so I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. So first, we get the coins.Datastore, which is the data store for the coins value. Then we use setAsync. SetAsync is like saving a player's progress in a notebook. When you use setAsync, you're writing down something important, like their high score, coins, or items. so the game remembers it for next time. In the brackets, you have to put the value that being saved and the player's user ID. We could also save with players' names, but then if a player changes his username, the progress will be lost. Since people can't change their user ID, the progress will always load correctly. If you have more values like me, just make this same line but change the data store, like this. Quick note here. If you want some values to not be saved, just don't do anything with them in the script, leave them to be created, and that's it. If a player rejoins, that value won't save. Now we're done with the saving. Let's implement the loading in the PlayerAdded function. Now, we made the variable coins data, and the coins data is basically the data of the player's coins. As you can see, we again get our coins.Datastore, but this time we use getAsync, which actually uses that important stuff we saved with the setAsync function. And we need to put player's user ID in the brackets, because the data store needs the user ID to know which data to set for that specific player. Now, since I have 2 more values to load, I'll make 2 more variables like this one. After we got the data we need for that player, we need to actually display that data. We do this by setting the coins value to the coins data, like this. And again, since I have more values, I need to do 2 more of these. I forgot to show you this in my last video, so I'll show you in this one. I'll show you how to make a part increase a value on touch. So first, I'll make a part and customize it. If you're making a coin pickup like me, I'd recommend you enable the anchor property and disable the can collide property in properties of the part. Now we will insert a script in the part. Here, I'm going to write our touched function. I already covered this a lot of times, but we basically get the script's parent, which is the part since the script is inside of it, and we write .touched, which is an event that's called when something touches a part, and then we connect that to a function, and we create the hit variable, which is the part that touched our coin or whatever. Then we get the humanoid by getting the hits parent. And we do that by getting the hit's parent, which is actually the character since our body part touched the coin, and body parts are just parts of our full character model. And we find the humanoid, which contains properties like health and walk speed. Then we finally get the player by using the function getPlayerFromCharacter, which is self-explanatory. And we get the player from the hit.parent, which, like I said, is the player's character. Then we check if the humanoid and the player actually exist, and then we finally increase the value of the coins by 1. We can also just destroy the coin so it's not there anymore. As you can see, when I touch the coin's value increases. Now, before we try out our data stores, you need to enable API services to Studio, because by default, Studio can't access the data stores. You do that by going to Home, then clicking on the Game settings, selecting Security, and enabling the API services by toggling it on. By the way, I somehow forgot this check, which checks if the data exists. Because when the player joins for the first time, they don't have their data, and if they don't have, then it sets the values to their default value. As you can see, it works. I collected the coin, the value increased, and when I rejoined, I had 11 coins instead of 10. Thanks for watching, guys, and sorry for the long video. I hope you understood everything in the script. Like I said, the script will be in the description. Peace out, guys.